Good day, viewers. Today's project is going to have me showing you how to build one of these little towel dresses. The purpose of these is to hang over your oven handle door, and it's so that your tea towels or hand towels don't slip off and land on the floor all the time. Once you tie these little ribbons on the sides, then it'll prevent it from falling off. They're decorative. You can make them for all seasons. So today I'm going to show you right from building the pattern all the way through to finishing it. This here is going to be the pattern that you're going to use. Because you don't have this pattern, I'm going to explain how to build it. You're going to take a piece of paper and cut it 11 inches by 9.5 inches. It's larger than a standard sheet of paper, so you can use any kind of paper that's large enough, or even take 2 sheets of paper, but cut out a rectangle that's 11 by 9.5 inches. So now you have your 11 by 9.5 inch rectangular sheet of paper. You're going to take a protractor, and if you don't have a protractor, then just measure up from the corner of your paper, measure up 1 5/8 of an inch. With a protractor, you can get that measurement off of a ruler, and then you put your protractor on the corner and then draw an arc from one side of the sheet of paper to the other. If you don't have a protractor, just make that measurement here and here and find something that's circular shape, like a cup or a lid off of a container or something, and draw out an arch. Now once you've drawn your arc on this corner, in order to get all the other corners even, the easiest way to go about that is to fold your sheet of paper in half and in half again, and then when you cut, all 4 of them will be cut exactly the same. Because your sheet of paper has been folded in half and in half again, you also see the center point of your circle. From that center point, again with your protractor, you're going to make a measurement this time of 1 1/4 inches. So that's 1 1/4 inches. So you'll do that with your ruler, or if you don't have a ruler, just get something that will be approximately 2.5 inches across, or a little bit bigger. It doesn't have to be exact. And from that center point, then you're going to draw your circle and cut that out. If you're using a cup, center it on your paper so you have the circle drawn out. Then again, you'll take some scissors and you'll cut that out and cut your corners out. Okay, for our project, what you'll need is only 4 different items, plus your sewing thread. You're going to need some fabric. The fabric you need is about 11 inches. So 11 inches of a nice fabric that you want your dress part of your towel project. Then a towel, so you can use a hand towel from the bath section of a store, or you can use a tea towel, anything that's about the same size as a hand towel. We're going to need 4 buttons, and we're going to need approximately 2.5 yards of ribbon. So a minimum, you'd want to cut your ribbon 1 yard in length. I prefer it a little bit longer, just to have a little bit longer hanging on the sides. So we'll say about 40 inches, then you'll cut that into 2. When you cut your ribbon, cut it on a 45-degree angle. It gives it a nicer finished edge, and as well it won't fray when you wash it. Now we have our pattern that's all cut out and ready to use. As you can see on the pattern, I've made a mark about 3/8 of an inch all the way around. That's going to be your seam allowance. That's how far from the edge you're going to sew. This is the fabric we're going to use today. It's a nice little zebra print fabric. I'm going to turn it this way so you can see where the zebra heads are facing. In this particular instance, you have to be careful when you make the pattern, which will ultimately sit like this over your oven handle door, that because this has a certain direction to it, that the heads are going to be facing the right way when it's on the towel bar. In this instance, the back side is going to be going upside down, but the front side is right side up, so it really doesn't matter. But be aware of the types of patterns that you have on your fabrics. Okay, now our fabric, because we need to cut 2 of these, what we'll do is fold our fabric in half, and then we'll cut them both at the same time. My recommendation is that you pin your fabric to your pattern, so that way it doesn't move while you're cutting. So I would put multiple pins on there to keep it secured. Then you can take your scissors and cut it, or if you're as lucky as I am, I've got this nice rotary cutter and ruler. Where I can get my straight cuts done. Now that we've cut the sides with the scissors, I'll cut these little circular pieces on all the corners. Now, in order to cut the center part, I find it just easier to take a marker or a pen and draw out the circle and cut it out this way. This way I can pinch my fabrics together to get in there to cut my circle. So again, if you prefer to have your fabric pinned together so that it doesn't move, feel free to do that. This here is the finished cutout fabric that we're going to work with. Now bringing it back to the table, we're going to put the right sides of the fabric together. And the more even you lay this out, the easier the sewing process is going to be. Now we're going to pin this and take it out to our sewing machine. Now we're going to sew around the circle. It's very, very important because this is going to be a key part that you're going to see on your oven door, to have that circle nice and round. Okay, so as we sew around, if you have the needle down position in your machine, then you can lift your presser foot and turn it around a little bit just to keep that nice circle going. Sometimes if you force your fabric like this, it'll pucker. And take your time doing this step, just a few stitches at a time, just to get a nice circle. And you're going to continue through till your circle is all done. After you have your circle sewn, then you're going to clip from the edge of the fabric up to where your threads are. It's very important not to cut through the threads, but cut as close to them as possible. I like to do this approximately every 1/4 of an inch, no more than a 1/4 of an inch. The purpose of clipping these corners is once it's turned right side out and you press them, then it will prevent it from puckering. So that's the main purpose of this, is to prevent the puckering. Now we're at the stage where we've got our circle trimmed, and we're going to pull the fabric through to the other side to get the right sides out. So you're going to take one of the layers of fabric and you're going to poke it through the hole to get the right sides out. And once that's done, with your fingers, you can just press the seam to get it to fall nice and flat before you iron it. Once you're happy with how that looks, then you'll take your iron and press that flat. Now we're going to work with the long sides of your pattern, so that would be the waist part of your dress here. You're going to turn the edges of them in 3/8 of an inch, so that's your seam allowance that you have marked on your pattern. You can take a ruler and measure that out, or if you're not too afraid and you can do a fairly even job, just wing it. And now the other side. And flip it around and do the same thing on the opposite side. Now the next step is with your hand towel. You're going to take your hand towel and you're going to fold it in half, and we're going to cut the towel in half. So I just bring the edges so that they're nice and even on one side. And take my scissors now and cut the towel in half. Once your towel is cut in half, you're going to take it to the sewing machine. Now at your sewing machine, you're going to put your machine on the longest stitch. It's a basting stitch because we're going to gather the towel. So you're going to do that on the cut edge, close to the edge of the towel. And leave some fairly long tails in order to make it easier to gather. And you'll repeat it with the other side. Take one of the threads on one end and you're going to pull it to gather the towel. The bobbin thread is the easiest one to pull. So if you use one thread and it gives you resistance, it's probably not the bobbin thread, so try the other side. You want to gather the towel so that it fits within the long ends of the fabric. Gather it so that it's a little bit shorter than that distance. Once you have your gather done, then what you can do is take one end and tie it in a knot. That way, your gathering stitch can't slip out beyond that.